Hi everyone, welcome to another exciting comics loving, kidlit loving edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. On this episode, I'm delighted to be talking with author and artist Angela Dominguez for a second time. Thank you for coming back, Angela.
Thank you for having me. It's good to talk to you again.
A pleasure, a pleasure. Folks out there will know you for working in the world of Stella Diaz as well as a variety of picture books. But the last time we talked, you also mentioned that you were exploring the world of graphic novels. And so here we are now talking about, and I want to make sure I get this right, Gabby Torres Gets a Billion Followers.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, yeah. It's supposed to be, let's see, out in early 2025.
Yes, I believe it's January 14th. So
Yes, yes.
about 5 months from now.
Yes, yes. So, of course, curious about the inspiration to tap into the world of comics and graphic novels. How did you decide to embark on this quest?
Well, growing up, I loved comics, Calvin and Hobbes, like many other kids, Garfield, Peanuts. And then when I was growing up, I had an older brother who was really into like The Dark Knight and anything by Frank Miller. So when I went off to art school, I took a couple of graphic novel courses, really loved it because it was sequential and it was storytelling. It's also what drew me into doing children's books. But I never really, it always was like an idea in the back of my head, kind of like writing a novel too. It was always in the back of my head, but I was like, I only do picture books. And
Hmm.
it was Connie Shu who not only encouraged me to do novels like the Stella Diaz series, but also encouraged me to try this new format, graphic novel. And I was just like, when she said it, it was like that little voice in my head was like, you can do this. You've always wanted to do this. So I was thrilled at the opportunity to try to do something new. And I was really sad letting go of Stella Diaz. And I kind of wanted to stay in that world, but do something new too. So doing it in a new format with following this new character, Gabby Torres, it just felt like a great opportunity. And I have to admit, doing a whole graphic novel was very daunting. So this is kind of a hybrid. It's a really exciting format to me. Like Pie in the Sky or Flora and Ulysses, two books that I absolutely love, where it's like comics with verse. So you'll have a little bit of text, a spot
Hmm.
illustration or two, and then a series of panels, and they just keep going throughout that format through the whole book. So it's really exciting to do something that was always a secret dream of mine.
Love it, love it. Yeah, very cool. I love mixtures of forms like that. And of course, you're well experienced in the world of picture books and prose. What did working in the graphic novel allow you to do creatively?
I think it really allowed me to lean into humor because so often you could write a bit of text and then have a spot illustration be the punchline right after it. It allows you to contradict what your character is telling you because she's a bit of a mischievous character.
Mm-hmm.
She means well, but she's a bit self-interest, like a lot of kids have a tendency of being at that age. So she will say one thing, but then you clearly see something else happens. So I love that aspect of really leaning into humor, which is something I've always loved, but it's been typically more subtle, especially like with Stella. But with this, it's just kind of like what will make the most entertaining and hopefully funny story as possible.
Yeah, yeah. Curious about some of the process as well. I've heard like Raina Telgemeier say that you work for a very, very long time on a graphic novel. There's a lot that goes into it. So, what was the process aspect like for you?
It's the hardest I've ever worked on a book. Like I
Mm-hmm.
just spend so much time. It's so rewarding too, and I get lost in this world so easily. But I started this first Gabby book in God, what was it? September of 2022. I started
Mm-hmm.
writing it then. And then you spend, like a month or two reworking the writing, learning how to write for that format because the first draft I wrote it as much shorter Stella book, but then I realized like so much more I could tell with the pictures rather than the words. So then it went into doing, and I didn't realize this either. And I will tell anyone who wants to do this type of format of book, like you are designing a lot. You are figuring out where the text goes, where those spot illustrations go, where those panels go. I kind of thought it would be kind of like working on a novel where I just provided the manuscript, then I provided the art, and then I told a designer to put it all together. Uh,
Hmm.
but in this instance, of course, they fine tune it and make it, perfect for publishing. But you have to do a lot of that heavy lifting of designing the whole layout of the book. And that was something that took a lot to learn how to do, especially with the first book. Now that I'm wrapping up the second book, it was way faster. So you spend a few months of doing that, and then you work like God, like 3 to 4 months on final artwork.
Hmm.
Picture books are usually I can spend like a month doing it, quite honestly, but I also like a lot of negative space. I don't have overly detailed backgrounds in my picture books. So it was definitely getting used to it and then inking everything and coloring everything. It really helped me streamline my process as like an artist because with an illustration, you can kind of like go back and forth between the drawing and the color and tweaking it. But with this, it's like you really need to know what the drawings look like so that you can ink it and then add the color. And so it was a big learning experience, but it was really fun to like learn how to do this new format and kind of almost figure out your recipe of doing it so that you can replicate it, hopefully for many more books.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was going to say, I hope it's the first of many. And as an educator, I love a series book. And
Yeah.
so that's one of the aspects of Stella Diaz that is so wonderful is that readers can connect with it and then keep connecting with sort of the subsequent chapters.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love those books growing up, and I do feel like those are vehicles for kids to get really hooked into a character, learn to love reading, and then hopefully then be like, encouraged to read beyond their favorite series or discover other series as well. And as for Gabby, right now we're set to do 4 books, but hopefully
Wonderful,
there'll
wonderful.
be more than that. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what do you hope that readers take away? Your work celebrates so much about the beauty of strong characters and language and expression. So curious about that as well.
Gabby, she is half Latina, so I try to, sprinkle throughout my culture and heritage and background in there. Her father's also a science teacher, which is, my boyfriend was a science teacher for 11 years. So I jokingly poke at his interests in the book. So in the
Hmm.
first book, he's really into geology. In the second book, he's really into birding. But it sparked this curiosity of the world around us and maybe, a little interest in science as well. But I think really Gabby makes the mistakes that a lot of adults and kids make, and hopefully learning through her in a humorous way, things that maybe like with the first one, it's social media. Like she is so young and she wants to get on there and she has very strict parental guidance on there, but she breaks the rules and starts being on there by herself and discovers online bullying. And then she determined to like fix it herself. But obviously, that's very challenging for anyone, especially someone her age. So it's kind
Hmm.
of like a nice way or a gentle way of saying like social media is complicated and maybe it's better that you stay off of it for now. And these are the complications that can arise for young kids because a lot of them want to be on there. So I think in all the books, the hope is that it's something that kids can learn from her mistakes in this new world that we're navigating, where there is social media. Of course, bullying's been around forever. And with the second book, it's about being overly competitive. So old and new problems for kids.
Yeah, yeah. Very well said, and always enjoy the work that you do. If I'm a listener out there and I want to find out more, we mentioned that it's January 2025, but any particular places that I can go to find out more about you, to find out more about this book and what's ahead?
Well, I would say you can always go to my website, angeladominguezbooks.com. We're also getting ready to start promoting the book more with Macmillan. It's Roaring Brook is the imprint that I work with. And so staying tuned to their social media accounts and mine as well. On Instagram, I believe I'm A&D Dominguez with four Z's because there's a lot of Dominguezes out there. And I think those are the main spots to check out.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Angela, thank you for coming back for a second time. Thank you for the creativity and embarking in the world of graphic novels. Looking forward to much more to come.
Thank you, and thank you for having me again.
Anytime, anytime.